More people are coming out talking about he scammed them. This is so embarrassing. This is exactly what I mean when I say do not ever settle in life. I don't care how old you are. First of all, she looks amazing. She does not have to settle. No matter where you are in life, do not settle.
So all the victims, the lady that's on disability with 30,000, you don't care about these people?
Christian doesn't even know who that woman is.
Oh, girl, I get it, that's your man or whatever, but sometimes a mother bring you down. He stole this woman's money. Should he be trading as a felon?
Yeah, he can.
Who told you this? And because I'm not making this up.
Okay.
You're too smart for this.
More people are coming forward to report that he defrauded them. This is really embarrassing. This is precisely what I mean when I say that you should never settle in life. I don't give a damn about your age. She looks fantastic, to start with. She is not required to make a compromise. Never settle, no matter where you are in life.
Bad for Jennifer, but I will say she is a magnet for being scammed. She just had an entire documentary about getting scammed from some other guy, and I don't know, there's just something about Jennifer that she just doesn't have street smarts like that.
Therefore, there were 30,000 victims, including the disabled woman. These people don't matter to you. Christian has no idea who that woman is. I understand, girl. Sometimes a mother can get you down, whether it's your man or something else. This woman's money was stolen by him. Is it appropriate for him to trade as a felon? He can, indeed. I'm not making this up. So who told you this? You're too intelligent for this, all right. Therefore, on January 12, 2026, a court formally ordered Christian Gold, the husband of Jennifer Williams, to reimburse his victims $367,625. Here's the worst part. This dude is no longer there at all. As if it were gone. While Jennifer is posting Bible verses about guns not succeeding, no one knows where he is. I'm thinking, girl, if that weapon is your husband, it's definitely prospering, because you're going to be the one writing that check.
A lifetime membership fee, $1,500. He does all the trading. When I said the fee, it told me to go to Cash App and buy Bitcoin. I don't know what Bitcoin is, and why did I pay you $1,500 if I have to buy it? So I called to ask questions. I never got another response, but I want my $1,500 back. We're watching you flaunt your cars, your beautiful diamond rings, this Rolex in front of us, and we were robbed.
However, the fact that he was caught isn't the only mess here. It's how he was apprehended, who he conned, and the fact that Jennifer has been supporting him on national television, while he was actually operating a classic Ponzi scheme off the influence as her spouse. Although I sympathize with Jennifer, I will state that she is a prime candidate for fraud. She recently watched a whole video about being duped by another man. I'm not sure why, but Jennifer simply lacks that kind of street smarts. You are aware that Jennifer Williams has had some difficult relationships with men if you have watched any of Basketball Wives. And by rough luck, I mean that she frequently ends up with guys who end up being total failures. Furthermore, Christian Gold is turning out to be the worst of them all, which is somewhat surprising given her past. This woman's birth chart must include something. Since when? What do you mean? She continues to draw in the barrel's ultimate bottom, and then stands by them until the entire thing blows up in her face. A $1,500 lifetime membership fee is required. He handles all of the trading. I was instructed to go to cash when I set the cost. I'm not familiar with Bitcoin, so I don't know what it is. And if I had to buy it, why did I pay you $1,500?
Thing about Jennifer, she continues to repeat the cycle. God continues to send you the same person over and over again, and until you learn whatever that lesson is supposed to be, and she wants to be married, and she wants to have a relationship so bad, no matter at what cost. She wanted to marry Tim, and no matter what, I want to be a wife. you know, and she's willing to take just the title without really having in your life a great person.
I therefore gave a call to inquire. I want my 1,500 back, but I never heard back. We were rocking as we saw you show off your automobiles, gorgeous diamond jewelry, and this Rolex in front of us. Christian presented himself as this multimillionaire trader, an investor when Jennifer and Christian first made their relationship public and eventually became engaged. He was skilled at manipulating the financial system to his advantage. He was constantly boasting about how rich he was, giving her jewels, dressing her in Chanel, and leading an opulent lifestyle that gave the impression that he had everything figured out. To be honest, he got exactly what he needed, credibility, by being attached to a basketball star's wife. Because we are all familiar with these reality TV stars. Despite their constant involvement in scams, people continue to have faith in them since the publicity lends legitimacy to everything. And Christian makes full use of that. Consider Jennifer, who keeps going through this cycle. God keeps sending you the same person repeatedly until you understand what the lesson is meant to teach you. She really wants to have a relationship and get married, regardless of the expense. You know, she wanted to wed Tim, and I want to be a wife no matter what. You know, I want to be a wife, and she is prepared to accept the title without truly being a wonderful person in your life. He began portraying himself to possible investors as this prosperous man who could increase their capital. Because of his lifestyle, the jewels, the designer, his confidence, and his appearance on TV with Jennifer, people began to believe him. People were persuaded to part with their savings and empty their pockets by his public presence and personal communication style.
Because if he's got all this money, and I'm going to tell you, our project accounts at this time, I think they were all running, and when we totaled it up in March, it was like $1.1 million equally between all of them. So we're like, there's no way he can't pull from this and give us yes, and I do have receipts of all of them.
However, as soon as those funds were cleared, Christian evolved into an entirely other person. This is how the entire process was carried out. And to be honest, every single facet of it is a classic Ponzi scheme. Investors would put their money with Christian in the hopes of earning profits from whatever trading or investing he purported to be doing. The problem is that there was no investment. No trade took place. There were no authentic accounts. Christian was merely stealing their cash and keeping a sizable portion of it for himself, despite leading this ostentatious lifestyle beside Jennifer. Now, in March, my spouse and I looked at one another and said, something doesn't sound right. This is because he has all this money, and I am going to tell you about our project accounts at this time. Oh, I see. They were all running, I believe, and when we added it up in March, it was around 1 million divided equally among them all. We think, there's no way he can't pull from this and give us a yes. Oh, I see. And I do have all of these receipts. Christian would persuade older investors to leave their money in place when they began to ask questions, or demand a refund, advising them to be patient and have faith in the process. However, he would offer them money from a more recent investor if they truly insisted on getting paid, giving the impression that the investment was profitable. People would think, oh wow, this is legitimate, when they saw that. Classic Ponzi scheme behavior, where you're robbing Peter to pay Paul until eventually the whole thing collapses, because you run out of new Peters, I'll add. Christian eventually just stopped talking at all. He obstructed individuals. He ceased to make any payments. And while their money was gone, these victims and investors had to watch him flaunt his lifestyle on social media and on Basketball Wives with Jennifer. Couldn't get to him. Imagine, for example, putting your assets with someone, getting absolutely ignored, and then turning on your TV to watch them living opulently with their reality star wife, and boasting about how fortunate they are. The boldness is truly unbelievable. Thus, a few of these investors ultimately made the decision to file a lawsuit last year. At that point, the situation became really intriguing. A group of investors sued Christian, accusing him of fraud and asserting that he was operating a Ponzi scheme. The fact that the complaint was filed in accordance with Georgia's RICO rules is noteworthy, because RICO charges carry harsher penalties. Additionally, if you watch the most recent season of Basketball Wives, you could see Jennifer practically rushing around putting out flames everywhere, because she was vigorously defending her partner against these accusations. On the show, Sarah and Christian both addressed it, pretending that everyone was merely jealous of their pleasure and success and trying to undermine them. However, this is where Christian truly displayed his true self. He was served with the complaint, but he never replied. Never appeared in court. He didn't even bother hiring a lawyer, girl. He was described as representing himself in the case records, indicating that he had no legal counsel at all. He simply disregarded the whole thing. Like, it would disappear if he pretended it wasn't occurring. Spoiler alert. Be aware that the legal system does not operate that way. The court issued a default judgment against Christian because he offered no defense at all. The court is directing Christian to pay 3 times the $120,000 in damages that the plaintiffs had initially requested, according to Georgia's RICO rules. He now legally owes these victims $367,625. Furthermore, this is no longer an accusation. No one is promoting this rumor to damage Jennifer's reputation. This is a court ruling. It is true. It's official. You would think Christian would finally take it seriously at this point, but his reaction was completely out of control. Therefore, Christian didn't even bother to acknowledge any of this until the court rendered a judgment against him. And his justification, threats on social media, and cyberbullying. He stated that his mental anguish and fear for his life were the reasons he was unable to reply to the case. Because of online harassment. In fact, he requested that the court hold aside the judgment, prevent the victims from collecting the amount, and allow him to submit a late response. And I must stop here, because this defense's chutzpah is truly astounding. Therefore, when he and Jennifer discussed these accusations on public television during Basketball Wives, he didn't fear for his life. When he was sharing his opulent lifestyle on social media, he wasn't afraid. He wasn't feeling mental anguish when he blocked his victims and disregarded their requests for reimbursement. But now that a court is involved, he's too traumatized to react in a way that makes sense. In fact, the judge made an effort to give him more space than he deserved. In all honesty, the court stated that Christian would be able to make his case, defend himself, and give his side of the story if he could pay the court expenses within 10 days. 10 days plus a few court costs. He only needed to do that to have a chance to combat this. What did Christian do? Can you guess? Nothing at all. Once more, this dude simply doesn't react to anything. The victims are now legally able to recover that $367,625 from Christian Gold, as the default judgment became a final judgment on January 12, 2026. This is where things start to get pretty ugly for Jennifer. Thus, following the final ruling, Christian fell still, strangely silent, as if no one knew where this man was at that moment. His wife is left carrying the bag and attempting to undertake damage management on his behalf while he has vanished. In an attempt to demonstrate that Christian had real clients who were satisfied with him, Jennifer shared several text messages, purportedly complimenting his investing abilities. She also made the audacious decision to write the statement about the weapon being formed, but not thriving, given that the weapon in question is a court-ordered judgment against your husband for dishonesty. Here's what everyone keeps bringing up, though. Additionally, Jennifer truly doesn't want to talk about the elephant in the room. As everyone knows, Christian doesn't own any money. If you were paying attention, you could have seen that all along. Either Jennifer's money from the show, or the fake money he was stealing from investors paid for the lifestyle, the diamonds, and the Chanel. So, precisely who will pay this judgment of $367,625? Because whether Jennifer likes it or not, that bill will fall on her shoulders if Christian is broke and missing. To be honest, many are beginning to question whether Jennifer was truly as ignorant of all of this as she says. This dude has been with her. With him, she has been leading this lifestyle. She has been observing him doing business, or whatever he called it. The specifics of this case are only now being made public. However, Jennifer has spent the entire time at the residence with him. When does supporting your boyfriend become equivalent to becoming complicit in his actions? Online remarks have been incredibly harsh. To be honest, a lot of people believe that Jennifer was destined for this given everything she's experienced in past relationships. It's difficult to comprehend how she ended up here with a man who was found guilty of fraud in court, while she was defending him on television, given all the warning signs she had previously disregarded. People are stating there's no other explanation for why she keeps picking these men, and then riding for them till the entire thing blows up. She's a scammer, she's stuck on stupid, and he must be putting it down. And you know who is most likely enjoying the time of her life at the moment? Evelyn. Because if you are familiar with Basketball Wives, you are aware of Jennifer and Evelyn's problems throughout the years. Additionally, Evelyn's plot for the next 2 seasons is essentially being handed to her by this circumstance. This will cause absolutely tremendous drama on the show. Jennifer is aware of it. She is aware that she will be entering confessionals and reunion recordings with receipts and court records that she cannot deny or explain away. This is the 3rd time she has ended up with a man who was a total bust. This time, it is supported by legal evidence. She had to flee from Eric. She had to flee from Tim. And now, while she shares scripture on Instagram, the Christian she married and publicly defended is evading a fraud judgment. You eventually have to consider what all of these circumstances have in common. Unfortunately for Jennifer, her own perception of men is that common denominator. As of right now, the victims have a legal right to receive their money, because the ruling is final. Christian Gold is missing. He hasn't written anything, made any public remarks, or revealed his identity. Jennifer is still attempting to defend him on the internet, but the tone has changed since she can no longer brush off these accusations. Her spouse couldn't be bothered to appear and defend himself even once during the entire legal process, which led to this court decision. Due to the legitimacy that Jennifer's celebrity afforded Christian, the victims who trusted him with their money will now have legal options to pursue compensation. However, it remains to be seen if they will truly be able to gather anything. If Christian is truly impoverished, there might not be anything to collect if all of that money is gone and the lifestyle was paid for by the scheme. This implies that even if a judgment is in their favor, these individuals may never receive their money back. Jennifer will also need to decide what to do next. Does she continue to live with a man who has been found legally guilty of fraud? Does she settle his debts in order to preserve her reputation? When it comes to this, does she eventually turn away and acknowledge that she made yet another error in a long queue of selecting partners? She continues to publish as though she is standing by him, but everyone can see that the maths isn't adding up. The weapon undoubtedly formed, and based on how things are developing, it's thriving just all right.